All right, I think you can hear me now. Yeah, all right. We might be onto something now. It's been a little while, having some technical difficulties first time on for it's been like over a year since I've been live streaming. So, yeah. No, I had that scheduled for on YouTube, and when I went into my Streamlabs here, I clicked hello, Mary. I clicked to get started, and it just would not. Like, it was on my end. It was on my end streaming, but on YouTube it was not. For some reason, I don't know. I'll have to figure that out. But yeah, so thanks for joining. And for those of you that don't know, I'm sure the people that are here know that I trade ICT concepts now. But once I start getting some more viewers back on here, I'm going to be curious to see who is still here from when I used to trade Apex sniper system. That'll be interesting to see. But yeah, so you'll see on my screen here, I have it, the way I have it set up is on the bottom left where it says P&L. I'm going to be displaying my P&L for that trading day for all my PA accounts for Apex. And then on the bottom right there, you see competition P&L. That's where I am showing my Ninja Traders having a competition, a live competition. I don't think I'm going to win at all because you start with a 25K account. It's kind of like their beta testing. And there's people, you could trade up to 5 minis. And there's people already that, I mean, they've built up like 50K. And I personally think, I'll go into that in a little bit. But for now, I think people don't trade that the way they would their normal live account. So, but we'll see how it goes. Hey, Jonathan. Yeah. So I know I had one because last time I was streaming live trading was whenever I was doing the sniper system. Yeah. So basically here, I believe I was looking, we have a 15-minute fair value gap, and you'll get some nuggets, I'm sure, watching me trade. But I'm not going to really be teaching ICT. So just so y'all know. But the main thing that I always preach, right, is discipline, money management, all that good stuff. So that's what I definitely want to always show. 516.75. And I'm sure as I start getting more people hopping in here and more people that know ICT concepts, I am not going to be looking at the chat to take advice as far as a bias and what kind of trades I'm going to take and stuff like that, because all that'll do is throw me off. So if I'm wrong on a day, I'm wrong. I don't care, because that's where my money management comes into play. And as long as I'm right more often, more than half the time, and I lose less than I make, then I'm going to continue making money. So right now, so I'll explain kind of what I'm looking at here. I always start, I want to see what's going on the daily chart. Then I look at the 15-minute chart mainly for my bias for my morning. I only start looking for trades around this time, around 9:45, and I end my day around 10:30 or so. If I don't have something by 10:30, if I don't look like I'm gonna get in a trade by 10:30 to 10:40, I'm out. I'm done. So, and I only take one trade a day these days. So the 15-minute chart here, I'm looking at all this smoothness up here. We have a 15-minute fair value gap. If you don't know what that is, that's a gap. It takes 3 bars. You have a gap, 1 bar in the middle. That gap's 2. So we have that up here, and I have a buy side liquidity marked up here. So where we have this smoothness, I'm looking at that. Then we dropped and took this low and left a fair value gap here on the 15-minute chart. So then we continued to come down. And this is basically like a minor sell side liquidity where price stopped and came back up and took these highs right here and left a fair value gap. So what I'm looking for in here, because I only trade intraday, right? I only look for a trade within like 45 minutes to an hour after the open, if that. So I don't really need to look too far much out of this. So what I'm looking for here is, does price come back into this 15-minute gap and continue up to this buy side up here, or does it invert this gap, meaning close through the bottom of it and continue down? Because there's reasons for price on the larger time frames to continue down. So that's what I look for, the larger time frames, the 1 hour, 4 hour, and daily chart, to see where price could essentially keep going to if it goes outside of what I'm looking at on the 15-minute chart. So we do have an opening range gap here, which is basically where price, if you look at the regular trading hours, where price closed on Friday, it's down here, and then it opened up this morning up here. So there's that gap, and it hit the middle of it now. So I could look for longs after it hits the middle, but we want to see if it's going to close it or if it's going to continue down. So first, I'm looking for price to draw somewhere. And if I'm looking for a long, I do want to see it draw down first. And then it draws to where it's going to go, and then I look for along the other opposite direction. So let's see here. We have the opening bar. So I marked this the opening bar fair value gap because it's the opening bar, and at the open, we usually get a move, right? So of some sort, a lot of times. So we got a move, and then it came back up through it, and yeah, it closed up through it. It did all that. So now we might get our first presented fair value gap after 9:30, and I want to mark that because I want to see what price does with that. Does it stay below it? Does it immediately invert it? What it does? So you got to keep in mind too, on the 15-minute chart, it takes 15 minutes for these bars to close, right? Well, so now we have our first presented fair value gap right here. I'm going to mark that. And it came right up into it, so it may continue down to close this gap. This is not a trade I'm looking for yet because I need price to draw somewhere. It hasn't really drawn anywhere. It's just kind of staying in the middle. And I mean, I would love for it to come down, close this gap, take this minor sell side liquidity, and then look for a long to come back up. Then we would have what's, a sort of a dealing range from this high down to here. And then we'd be taking our trade. I'd be taking my trade because you're not supposed to be copying my trade. But I'd be taking my trade from down here and look to take it right back up to equilibrium, which is the middle of this dealing range. It's this purple line here that I just marked, if this were to happen, obviously. And then I'd take it right up to here, or you could take it to the first imbalance, which is the fair value gap on the other side of this, or a high or low. So I know right now I'm kind of talking fast because I was late with my technical difficulties. So I just wanted to kind of catch up on what I'm seeing for the moment. Let's see here. So I apologize for that. Normally, I would start this at 9:30, and then I'd have my time to talk for this 15 minutes on what I'm seeing. Let's see here. So first presented fair value gap, looking good. Now keep in mind, so like on the 15-minute chart, when I'm looking, we have 10 minutes until this bar closes, right? So just because it's down here doesn't mean it's going to invert and close below this 15-minute gap. Because look at this bar before. The body closed above the midpoint of it. That's called the consequent encroachment. It closed above that, right? So right now, it's reaching down, and it's still 10 minutes until this bar closes. So it very well could come back up and close above the midpoint here and continue up. That's a possibility. So it could reach down, take this sell side liquidity, close this opening range gap, and then come back up and close above. Could. Will it? I mean, it might not. It's that would be a long wick. But if it did do that, that would be a huge sign we're going to go up. So that's basically what I do now with ICT concepts. Is I follow the 2022 mentorship as much as I can. And then what I also do is I mark things out like this, and then you have to have an idea of what price could do, where it could go, because do we all know for certain? No. So you have ideas, and then you wait for the market to basically show its hand. Like, hey, is it you're anticipating basically where it's going to go from that point. I just wait. So I never really come in. I mean, sometimes I do come in and say, I'm only looking for shorts today. Sometimes I do that. Or opposite, look for longs. But a lot of times I don't, because if I think price is going to go, let's say I think price is going to go up to, up here to this fair value gap. Well, I'll take a long there. But then if I believe price gets there and then continues down for the day, well, if I don't get a trade to go up to it, then I'll take a trade from there down. So I'm not really just one way or the other. And you see how we hit this fair value gap here, and you see the struggle, right? This is high resistance to come down. We do have, so if you want to see, there's always a reason, and here's the other thing. There's always a reason why price is doing stuff. Like, if you can't figure out why price gets stuck somewhere, price doesn't just stop in the middle of nowhere. That's one thing. Last week, there was a trade, I think it was Friday, and price ran down and just kind of stopped. And I'm like, why did price stop? It doesn't just stop for no reason, for zero reason at all, right? So it stopped. It was below, it hadn't quite hit the sell side liquidity. And then it presented what looked to be like a long. And I said, nah, there's no reason. It wouldn't just stop in the middle of nowhere and just go long and keep running long. So why did it stop? And then you got to search. I looked at the 15-minute chart, couldn't find anything. The 5-minute. Then I had to go to higher time frames. I went to the 1 hour. And then from the 1 hour, I found some sell side liquidity. I found a fair value gap. It was either the 1 hour chart or the 4 hour chart. So basically, you got to... It's almost like you're researching. Why did it stop? Why did it stop? So like right now it's hesitating. Why? If I look left, so a lot of you that's been with me from Sniper, there's a lot of similarities. Look left, right? There's a lot of similarities. Why did it stop here? Look left. Bodies are closing right up here around the midpoint of this gap, right? If it keeps going down, we have these gaps here. Right here. So it could hesitate and then come down, come right into here, hesitate, and then come down and take the sell side liquidity. So that's the thing. That's what I like. That's what I like about this ICT concept is I know why things are happening. Like, I'm never just in the dark like, oh, what's going on? Why is it doing this? Why is it doing that? Like, I would say 90% of the time, I know why price is doing what it's doing. So that helps you, right? If you know why price is doing what it's doing, then you can know when to get in or not get in. Yeah, Chris, no news today. So that's the other thing. That's why I was like, my first day back to streaming, but then there's no news drivers today. And I typically, I prefer to trade when there's news drivers for the day. I don't trade the news, right? But if there's news at 8:30 or 10 a.m. or whatever, that's great because we know that's going to move the market. Day like today, a Monday, no news, it might not be very good. So on those days as well, what I do is I have smaller targets. On high news driver days where the market's more volatile, I might go for 50, 60 point trades. Day like today, no news. If I can grab 30 points, I'm done. I'm happy. 30, 35, because that means also my stop is probably going to be smaller. So we just wait. And it kind of sucks that it's my first day trading back and we might not. I already go into this thinking I might not get a trade today, but I plan on going live. I plan on going live every day this week. And then on other days where I'm not every day going live, I plan to do it like on those days where I know there's news drivers. So right now, again, we're still in this area. It's basically little accumulation phase going on. First presented fair value gap. What I would like to see is, I mean, if it comes down further, great, that's fine. I'm more so looking for a long. And if I go to the 4-hour chart, you can see we're definitely going down. And we have this big 4-hour gap. And then we have this big gap up here. So there's a chance price is going to try to rebalance this stuff. Here, let me, while price isn't doing much, let me show you my daily chart. I do look at the daily chart. This gap between the bodies here, that's a volume imbalance. So we do have a volume imbalance up there. Then we still have one down here, right? So on the daily chart, there's still reason price could come down. We have a big fair value gap here. We have some nice sell side liquidity down here. So we just, that's what I mean. Like on these days, we wait. I wait and just anticipate. Price could reach up before going and taking these lows. It could just keep running down to these lows and then reach up. And we know that could take multiple days, right? And I'm looking for a trade between 30 to 40 minutes. So I mainly look at these higher time frames for levels now. You know, I'm looking at these levels because when we approach stuff like this, or we get close, like let's say price is coming down and we get close to this imbalance here, we're likely going to hit it. So that's mainly what I look for on the higher time frames. And then the 15-minute chart is really where I'm getting my bias from. And if I look at this 15-minute chart, yeah, we're kind of in this little down move here on this pullback leg. But here we displaced and took these little swing highs. It wasn't great. Like I would have liked to see it go higher first, but it's still hanging around here. So just wait and see. Hey, John. Ben, hello. Yeah, so I'm excited to be streaming live again. I missed it. I missed it a lot. I like to go on here and just, you know, kind of share what I'm seeing. I'm no professional. I'm not the most profitable trader. I've been profitable this year. I've been taking payouts every month lately for the past few months, and all these accounts that I have with Apex right now, I basically restarted. So just for those of you that don't know, I switched to ICT Concepts last October of 2023, and I knew I had a learning curve ahead of me. So I basically reset, gotten some new accounts in May when Apex did their 250K sell. I still have those accounts, and I've just been slowly adding on. And now I finally got up to 20 as of like a few weeks ago. So, hey, I'm just here to share my experience. Mainly, like I said, share my discipline and psychology and money management to trading. So anybody, no matter what you're trading, you could take that with you. And then, you know, you'll probably get a few nuggets here and there of what I've learned. But, yeah, ICT to me, you know, regardless of what you think of the man himself, the concepts work. I noticed Chris said, I noticed you have your daily set to set, which has volume imbalance. Yeah. So, yeah, I usually have it on set. I did hear ICT say one time that he has it on whatever shows up imbalance. So if he unclicks it and there's no imbalances, but then he clicks it and he sees imbalances, he'll leave it there to show the imbalances. And I normally like most of the time have it set to set. Good morning, Enrico. Hey, yeah, I wasn't sure what to expect today, you know, since I haven't been live in so long. If anybody would show up at all. So thank you for jumping in. All right, so we closed above the first presented fair value gap. And again, see, this is what I mean. We are coming back up into this 15-minute gap. It's 10 a.m. now. So let me go back to the 15-minute chart. See how price wicked all the way down, and then it closed in the fair value gap. So it has not inverted it. However, we did leave. Let me get rid of this one here. That's kind of irrelevant. We did leave this gap, this new one coming down. I think we actually invert this one because we did not make a new low. We wicked down. I think we're going to come up in here, invert it, and keep going up. So I would actually be looking for a long. I wouldn't be concerned with this gap because this is the opening gap here. And what I noticed, I'll explain that in a second, but what I noticed, because I don't want to miss something here, because I might be getting an entry for myself here because we do have a market structure shift, a bit of a market structure shift, and we may be getting a fair value gap here right above the first presented fair value gap. So if we get this one here, I will be taking a long off of this. My stop, 535. My stop will be, we have a little bitty fair value gap right here too. So it could want to reach back down into this one. So I'm not going to immediately get in if it comes back into here. So my entries are fair value gaps. That's where I get in and get long at. So it may want to reach out into here. So if I get in here, when price comes back down to this one, I will probably not immediately hop in. I'll wait to see if what price does here, because it could want to reach down into the lower one. And how to know that is also you can measure the dealing range of this leg. So if price, for example, stopped here, I can measure right down here. This gap is right here at this little quarter mark. This one is slightly above equilibrium of this little leg. So it could come right here and stop. But see, now it's still pushing up, right? So now this gap is below equilibrium of this dealing range of this little leg. So I will get in here. And then basically my stop would have to be below these lows. So it is, about a 30-point stop. But I would be looking to at least go up to this gap up here, this 15-minute, or take these highs up here is where my target would be. So 587, and I get in up here. So I'm looking to make about 50 points on this. We do have, it's basically a double gap here. So I'm going to mark that like that. And because we have this like little double gap here, I'm not going to enter as soon as it touches it. We have a volume imbalance right here as well. Between these two bars. So I do like that right there. So it's definitely, in my opinion, going to reach down into here. I don't think, because like I said, we have some nice, we have this gap, then we have some nice buy side liquidity up there. I don't think we just run all the way up through it. We have this gap here as well. Yeah, see, we're just displacing and gapping up through. So I'm going to mark all these. And whenever you have so many going up like this, I don't take this first one here. So like when price comes back down, I'm not going to take it in or long right here, because it's likely to hit this volume imbalance. It very well could dig down into here. I don't think this is going to come back to this one. This is going to be a breakaway gap down here. So we'll see. And I don't fear it just running away. The reason why too is because I have targets higher. Looking at the 15-minute. Like it may run up to here, and I have targets higher. So we have plenty of room to go. And if I measure, let's see, this range here, we're hovering right around. These entries are below. They're in the discount of that range. So let's see. We may get a gap here too. Which it looks like we are. Now the issue is I'm going to wait, because I want to make sure this doesn't immediately get inverted. Because we are at this high right now. Exactly here. If I measure this dealing range now, we have equilibrium down here. See, and it may not come down any further, but this is one that I'm not going to chance at the moment because we're pretty high up in this leg right now. Oops. And it may want to pull back further. And I don't want to have a huge, because if I technically with this push up, if getting in here, you can have a stop down in this area, but it may come back down to this gap. So that's kind of what I'm waiting for. But it may not. So I try to avoid having huge stops. Like I usually 30 points or less is my huge for me because I trade micros. So a huge stop for me would be over 30 points. I try to be between 20 to 30. See, it came in here. It's respecting it. It may continue up from here. 75, be 25 points up to this fair value gap. I'm going to hold off because, see, here's the thing. If I hold off, and let's say it keeps running, it can come up into this fair value gap. And then from here, I might get me a really nice short to come back down into some target down below if it just keeps going. So that's why I'm not afraid of it running away, because we know price, goes up and down, right? It's not straight line. And what I was saying about this gap right here is when it's the opening bar gap, I take it with a grain of salt, right? So like I see it and I expect price could go through it because it's the opening move from the opening bar. So if it respects it and holds and goes down, then okay. But if not, that's why I said it'll probably go through this one, like because it was the opening bar. So yeah, here it's holding. Like I said, I'm not going to trade this long yet because see, now it took this kind of a minor buy side liquidity, and I do believe we could see it trade back down. The only risk of going long down in this area is if it inverts these fair value gaps, then you have a chance of it, running short if it does want to go short. Let me go to the 5 minute. We just had a swing. It just took this swing on the 5 minute. Kind of took this little high right here too. So if it does, see, now we're going to have a gap right here on the 5 minute, right? So, and look where this gap, the midpoint of this gap is, right where that entry is that I wanted on the 1 minute. So we very well could see price pull back into here and continue up. But if it runs away, it runs away. I don't see a reason, though, a strong enough reason for it to keep going short if it does, if it does pull back here, for it to keep going short and running these lows. Because our buy side area is stronger. In my opinion, we have a stronger upside on the 15 minute. Now, when you start getting to higher time frames, you can say, yeah, like right here, I really think we're going to go up through this high, these highs up here, above this like 657 area. I really believe we're going to do that. Now, if it continues up all the way up to here, I'm not sure if that happens today. But I have more reason for it to go up than for it to just run out these lows and continue down. Hey, morning, Richard. And it very well might not come back any further. That's a risk, right? That's a risk. And if that happens, like I said, I'm okay with price running away and not getting a trade. Like, I'm fine with that. So, stream purposes, it's not fun, right? Everybody likes to see streamers click buttons and take trades, but hey, it's fine. 2 LREs, 80 ticks. Sweet. Yep. Yeah, this is a 1 minute chart, but yeah, I can see where we had a couple pullbacks here where on the 30-second chart, I'm sure those were pretty nice. So what, let's see here. What also could happen if I am expecting, so like price could come up here into this 15-minute. Oh, I don't know how that got moved. Oops. Get rid of that. So if price does come up here into this 15-minute fair value gap, we could see it hit that and kind of bounce down. And if that happens, I could short it. If I get a good short up in this area, I could short it down to one of these imbalances. Like, that's always a possibility. And that's why I mean, like, I don't just look for one direction. I look for what price should do at certain areas. And if it presents itself, then I'll do it. See, like right now we got this 1 minute fair value gap. Let me extend these a little bit. And it's immediately inverting it. That doesn't mean it's just going to go short now, but it's immediately inverting it. So I got to, you got to be cautious. This was a little bit of a buy side liquidity, like a minor buy side liquidity here. I don't think like I said, I don't think we just go short, but we inverted this fair value gap. So I want to pay attention. I don't think it uses it to go short. As we can see, it's not. So no, I don't think or look or use any sniper concepts at all with ICT. Just straight, purely ICT. Yeah, when I switched over to ICT for like the first month, like it was like a transition, right? Because I had sniper and then I kind of would compare and see both and then slowly start using some ICT stuff, still use some of sniper stuff, and then finally I got completely moved over to ICT. And it was hard to let go. It was hard to let go. But once I understood, then, like I said, I felt that's why I like ICT concepts, because I feel like I know the why so much more of things versus relying on the actual, relying on actual indicators, I guess. Even though sniper indicators, it's based on order flow and all that, and it's more live versus, lagging indicators. But with this, I know the whys. I know the whys. And like here, we're reaching up. I'm watching the midpoint of this 15-minute gap. And we have our buy side liquidity up here. If we do, so at this point, like we're showing, the market's telling me it does not, it's not going to want to pull back, right? We're going to probably just run up to this buy side liquidity up here. In this 15-minute gap, we may do a little pullback, but it's showing me it wants to run to this buy side liquidity. So we have another fair value gap right here. See, here's another indicator, is that we had this little fair value gap, right? It immediately inverted it, and then what did it do? Immediately displaced back up and left a new one. So we're likely going to just run up to this buy side liquidity. This 15-minute gap also, oh, we have a new little gap here as well. This 15-minute gap happened at 4 p.m. on Friday. So that could have just been a volume from the close. So it may not hold very well, this 15-minute gap here. Now, I don't like taking, so in this case too, I have this target up here. So typically I like to look at the dealing ranges and be in the discount, like the lower half to go to the upper half. But in this case, I would have to look at the 15-minute chart for that. And if I measured out this range here, we're still in the discount of the market to take it up through here for after this drop, right? So the equilibrium is going to be right here. This, and I'll go back to the 1-minute chart to see it easier. Equilibrium is right here, and my buy side liquidity is just right there above it. So it may bounce and chop a little bit on this 634 area, but it should come right up through there. Now, I'm not going to get long right now just yet. If price comes back down, I'll be watching this order block here. This is an order block. I'll be watching this order block here. If price comes back down in this area and stays right here, I may go long and target that buy side liquidity, and I'd have my stop resting under this 1-minute fair value gap, depending on how price reacts in this area here. That was the 15-minute time frame, that equilibrium, and that was measuring the drop, the Friday drop. So price is respecting this 1-minute gap, but I want to see if it drops down. And that's the thing on a day like today, right? There's not a lot of volatility. It's not kind of going crazy. So it may just drop right here and continue up. And if you get picky, then you might miss trades, because I want to see if it drops down in this area holds. But if this area holds right here, I might risk losing a trade. Yeah, my loss rate went way down. Like, I win more with ICT concepts. See, this area held right here, and it may just run up. I could get in technically as long as I get in before this high right here, but I don't want to be chasing this trade. Looking at the 5-minute here also. We have this fair value gap right here on the 5-minute. So we just haven't quite seen a pullback yet. And we might not. And that's, you know, whenever that happens, I usually don't get a trade on those days. So this is the 5-minute gap. I'm kind of waiting to see if price comes down into things align so much whenever you know the concepts, right? So like I already had this area marked and I said I want to see what would happen here. And then I go to 5-minute and guess what's there? A fair value gap. So that makes sense. Now, like I said, it could just run away. We'll see. I don't worry about trying to chase a trade to a target, because once it gets that target, like once it gets to this 15-minute gap up here, then it could, just like I said at this one, it could come down to one of these imbalances, one of these 5-minute gaps. It may be making, well, more than likely it'll make a 15-minute fair value gap right here. And then if that forms before it runs, any higher than this, it'll likely pull back into it. So that's the thing. I'm always looking at what is likely to happen. And if it happens, great. If it doesn't happen, well then, I just don't get a trade. Yep, I'm only doing one trade a day. That's all I've been doing since May. And it's gotten me the most payouts I've ever gotten with Apex ever. Just one trade a day, patience, and if I get it, I get it. And then now with Apex doing daily requests, it's like, you don't have to worry about missing the window, right? Like if today is the 18th and I don't have to worry about missing the window in 2 days. So I can just take my time. And then that's the key too. Like I've said some of this in some of my videos, is that the hardest part is the beginning. Getting to those thresholds, right? If you're in a 50K account, getting to 52,600, 150 count, getting to 155, 100. Like that's the hardest part. Once you're there, that's it. Like you've pretty much done it, as long as you don't lose control. Which I know that's the hard part too, but once you're there, I think it's easier to not lose control, because you don't. And then with the daily requests, like you don't have to worry. You don't have to worry about I still got to go another week, or I missed my request, now I got to wait 2 more weeks. Like that's not the case anymore. So we're accumulating in this area here. We should not drop back below this little swing right here. If we do, then I'll be looking to probably get long in this area. And it might just slowly keep creeping up. Like we've expanded, see how it expanded here, then it kind of accumulates, displaces, accumulates, then we'll just keep pushing up, I'm sure. I just want to see if we're going to come down into this area right here. And I'll probably long it. Yeah, Richard, if you get your 50K up to, first goal up to 4,600, man, that's it. And then just not, like my thing is too, not taking the max amount of payouts. I've only been taking 1,000 per account. And what that does, you take that 1,000, you have a few good days after that. And, before you know it, you're back up to that payout threshold again. You're like, oh man, that was good. And then if you have some losing days, well, you're still not too far behind. Every 8 days. Yep. I haven't taken a payout this month though. I can. I have 5 accounts that's been eligible to take payouts, but I'm trying to build them up now. And every time I take a payout, I'm throwing some money to my live account, because I also copy my personal live account with it. So, see, we see this little reach up here, kind of reached up, just slowly. We're gonna see some displacement up, I'm sure. We may see price reach down through these lows first, hit this 5-minute gap, maybe this order block before. Let's see. Hello, welcome in. What copier do you? I use the Apex trade copier. You can use that or Replicanto, any of those. They pretty much do the same thing. I do have a video that shows how to connect it in NinjaTrader, where you can link your trade evade to TradingView, like all those together. You can link everything together, basically. That's what I do. And I execute on TradingView. Execute right here on TradingView, and then copies to everything inside Rhythmic. Which one is more stable? I don't know. I actually haven't had any problems with Apex's copier. There was a couple times where you just got to be careful on any copier, really, that it reverses your position, because the thing is, when you have so many accounts together, and you have to make sure your PC is up to being able to handle all those accounts as well, where it's going to execute all of those at the same time. And let's say if price gets close and it taps, it might not, because the sim environment's trying to also like mimic the live environment. So it's not going to just automatically fill you on all those accounts if the liquidity is not there. So that's what it's trying to do. So it's not perfect. So sometimes that can mess up the copier. If like it barely ticks into your stop or your target and then goes away, then the sim environment might think that in live it wouldn't fill it, so it won't fill it. And that's where it can get messed up. So see, we're just going up to that buy side. We could have gotten, there was multiple areas to get in. Like to get in long here, get in long here. And I could have at any of these points, but a lot of times what will happen is you'll see a little bit more of a pullback. So in this long, and this is what happens on non-news days, actually. Like today, where it doesn't on high impact driving news days, you'll see it come up and do, pull back into a fair value gap or something, and then go and then pull back. So today it just went up and then it accumulates more, goes up, accumulates more, and goes up, because there's not that volatile high impact news driver to really just keep swinging that market. So yeah, so far today I have not taken a trade. I only take one trade per day, and there was a few entries. I could have taken these entries, but like I said, I haven't. I was looking to see if the market would pull back a little bit more, but instead of pulling back to any of these entry areas that I would normally take, it basically just accumulated and then displaced, accumulated, displaced. So it's going to run my buy side. See, and that's the key, like knowing where the price should go. Like I called it out that price is going to go up to this buy side liquidity right as soon as I came on to my live. And it's not, anything special. It's just knowing what price should do. And it doesn't always do it, right? So, and then if you know what price should do, then you can have entries based on whatever criteria you want and then take it there. So I was looking for price to pull back up into this, down into this area, and I was going to long it down here and have my stop down here and just let it ride up here. However, it didn't come down there. So it accumulated, this held and went up. So at that point, after it displaced up, it should not come back down to this area. So it just never pulled back for me to any of the areas I was looking to go long from, which is fine. So like I said, once it reaches up into this 15-minute gap here, then I could look for a short somewhere up here after it's reaching this buy side liquidity to run it back down to any of these imbalances. And if that doesn't happen and it just keeps running, then it just keeps running, because I do have a reason for it to keep running long as well. If it does make it past this area, then I believe we have, let's see, there's still some more gaps up here. We have last month high. So I still have some levels that it could hit, that it could draw to, but I don't think it just goes up there. I think we'll have some sort of a pullback, and then that's where I would look for a short. And then ultimately, I do believe it goes up here. And then there's reasons we have a volume imbalance up here on the daily chart. I mean, there's a lot of reasons for it to keep going up. But see, and then we have this 15-minute. See, this is where if we get a short, I would look to go short back down to this 15-minute gap and then expect it to go long from there. See, we've inverted this one. I'll mark that as an inversion. And now we're hitting this one. So if this one basically rejects and brings it back down here, I'd be looking to see what happens in this inversion to go long, or if it reaches down further, go long here. And that might be that original area where I was looking for my long. But if I get a short to head down there, I'll take a short and ride that down there. So it just depends. But it's 10:30 now. So like around this time, I'm kind of done looking for a trade. If I didn't get, this was the move that I was looking for, and I didn't get an entry in it. There were some entries that I could have taken, but I didn't, and I didn't get an entry. So typically 10:30, 10:40, I'll just call it a day. So because we're at this area here, I will wait a little bit longer, about another 10 minutes, to see if we get some type of market structure shift in a short. And if not, then yeah, I won't get a trade. But that's expected today because, like I said, we have no news driver. And that was why I kind of was like, ah, man, I hate that I'm going live again on this Monday. But it is what it is. And I wanted to go live because that competition started today, even though, let me talk about that competition. So Ninja Trader, let's see, look at this. Ninja Trader, look at these people, already made almost 40 grand. So you could trade 5 minis. You start with 25K. You could trade 5 minis. And there's 624 people. They're beta testing this competition, but it's a sim account, right? So do you think people are really going to trade it the way they normally would if they had their own money in it? Nah, not at all. And I did a competition last year just for the heck of it, and the competition lasted a month. So the longer the competitions are, the better I do, because I beat people in the long game because of my discipline and money management. This is a week-long competition. I'm not going to come nowhere near. I mean, maybe. I don't know. We'll see. But I'm not going to win first place because these people are just going to go, like, 5 days isn't enough days for me to outlast them in the discipline and money management game. It's just not. But if I did the month-long one, and it's funny because it's like the story of the tortoise and the hare, right? I was the tortoise, and the first week, I was nowhere near the leaderboard. There was like 1,500 people or something. And then the second week, like, I started creeping up. And by the time the third week came, I was top 50 out of like 1,500 people. And then I realized kind of what I'm realizing here, that there are going to be some people that, like, they're just going all out on these things. And I'm like, yeah, even a month is kind of too soon for me to really compete. I think if it was like 3 months or more, then like half a year, then that'd be cool, because then I could just, stick to my plan and do well. But yeah, so I thought it would be cool just to do that. And then that's why I wanted to stream today too. That way I could show, because it starts today. Well, it started last night, Sunday night open, and it ends Friday. So it's only 5 days. So I was like, well, let me start my live. Otherwise, I would have started going live tomorrow, where it's a higher chance. Like tomorrow, I can almost guarantee you there will be a trade I take. So if I look at this week, well, and today, look at that, G20 all meetings. That's, well, even tomorrow, there's not much news, but there's the 8:30 a.m. news. Wednesday's not much either, so these 3 days could be slow. But then Thursday and Friday, I know for sure I'll be executing some trades. So it just depends. Like today wasn't bad. Like the read was there. I called out this level here. I knew price would highly likely get up there. So you just got to take your entries. But normally I look for a pullback and then get in. So here, instead of pulling back, it did pull back, but it just more so accumulated, displaced. So knowing the day and what's going on should kind of tell you how to trade. Because if it was a volatile news day, I would never take this entry right here, because more than likely it would pull back further into these areas. That's why I waited today. On a non-news day like today, it could just do what it did today. So, you know, that's just something to note. And note and watch. So, yeah, it's 10:36. Let's go to the 15-minute. I hit the wrong button. Yep, there we go, 15-minute. And you can see this is the displacement that I like through all these highs. This is why I expected this. And we have this 15-minute gap. We have this 15-minute gap. That inversion. So now if I combine these two, well, this bar hadn't closed yet, but, well, 7 minutes. It could come back down. It's reached up through all these highs, right? It still hasn't closed yet above this one, so I would be waiting to see if it comes back down, and if it does, then I would wait to see if it pulls back into this gap if it forms, or this gap if it forms. And then you could look for a short to come down, or wait for it to come down and then go long. That's all I really do. But yeah. And this was that dealing range that I measured from this drop right here. This drop from Friday morning and basically Friday's range here. Yeah, you see how it's reaching up, it's wicking here. You have a little fair value gap right there. So I'm always looking for what's it reaching for. At this moment, it reached already. It reached already up into here, reached for these highs, buy side liquidities, 15-minute gap. So at this point, all I do is wait to see if it comes back or if it's going to continue reaching. If it does, well, what's next? Here, monthly, last month's high. So like just seeing what the possibilities are, what's it reaching for, and if it does. And then I drop down time frames. Which version of TradingView? I use the basic one. It's like $12.99 a month or whatever. The cheapest one. I'm waiting for a Black Friday sale. Then I'll probably get the yearly subscription. But yeah, because I don't need, like, I'll have an ES chart and YM chart here just to see, like, YM and just to see if they're correlated or not. That's really all I look at. But I really don't have, like, I have the 15-minute, 5-minute on my other monitors just so I can monitor. But since I don't use any of the indicators or anything, I don't need their paid versions really for much, or their higher subscription ones. Yeah, so see what I'm waiting for now is I want to see if it's going to come back down to these areas somewhere. But there's not a lot of room for it to come back down either before it starts reaching into some fair value gaps for the higher time frames. So what's that, Chris? Their sell coming up? Or oh, you just saying for Black Friday? So I want to see. We don't have a market structure shift to the short, the downside yet, short, because this is just a little pullback. There's no swings taken. There's no fair value gaps inverted. So that's why, like, people will see this little fair value gap. And I know there's some people that'll short this that are not quite there yet, but you wouldn't because you don't have a market structure shift yet. No reason to go down just yet. So, but now it might be forming a swing right here. And then you have this fair value gap right here. So if I were to look for a short, I'd want this swing to get taken if it forms, and then I'd want this to get inverted and then displacement down. But I'm not very sold on that idea just yet. So I'm waiting for the new. I took advantage of it. Oh yeah, I remember you did. Yeah, you did, Chris. Get their sell last year. You lucky dog, you. I wasn't ready yet. Nice, good job, Richard. Yeah, I wasn't sold yet, Chris, but I'm definitely taking advantage this year on the Black Friday sale. Yeah, it's 10:42 right now. So I would need displacement through this swing, invert this gap if I even wanted to consider a short. But then, like I said, we have a minute, 2 minutes almost, and we'll get a fair value gap here for the 15-minute chart. And yeah, it may dig down into it some, but then we have this inversion right here as well on the 15-minute. And then this one. So, I mean, it could come back down into this area, but yeah, I'm just no news driver today. So, yeah, I'm probably about to call it a day here. It's 10:43. That's if I don't have anything close to setting up around 10:35, 10:40, I always call it a day. Was hoping to take a trade on my first live back, but I knew there was a good chance I wouldn't with this Monday. Yeah, it's not. There's nothing for me here, and it's too like you'd really have to wait until like the 11 o'clock hour. Jonathan, but like I don't trade for a very long time. So after the open, I'm usually looking like around that 9:50 macro time, and like 9:50 to 10:10 is around the time I'm usually getting my trade. If it's not around there, a lot of times around 10:20 I'll get something. But once it starts getting past 10:30, then I'm pretty much done. If I don't get my trade, I'm out. Especially as we getting closer towards 11. Like, yeah, I know there's other times that are valid. That are valid and that you can, look for setups. But that's just personally, I give myself that window because if I sat here for like half a day or multiple kill zones, I'll just start making dumb decisions, like personally. So I have to limit myself. And the people that's been on my stream before, like a year ago when I used to trade Apex, like I had to say that. I had to do that. I had to limit myself my own time, because if I sit there for too long, man, I start making bad decisions. So, yeah, we got that 15-minute gap right here. It's just, yeah. There may be something this afternoon for you traders that are going to trade the afternoon. For me personally, this is what I do right here at the end of my day. Or as soon as I'm done, I go here, drawings panel. We're going to trash everything I just did. I keep the ones I locked, which are some higher time frame levels. Boom. Now, I'm done. Then I go put everything in global sim, all that good stuff, and shut it down. So, yep. So I'm done today. The thing is, like I said, there was a couple good long entry points. Wasn't quite the entries that I normally like to take, but called the level that it was going to go to, buy side liquidity. It was there. It went. So Just didn't get the trade. But Jonathan, I've been doing the silver bullet mostly and was doing great in October. November, have been crushing it with silver bullet. Sweet. Yeah. They work. That's what got me, actually, is I came across a video October of last year that was like the one setup for life. And I was like, whatever. Let me watch it. And I saw it. And then what got me was ICT saying, hey, don't take my word for it. Look on your own chart. Look at this thing, which were fair value gaps, and see how it works. And I was just like, and he's like, prove me wrong. And I was like, well, it's pretty much doing everything he's saying. And I was just hooked from there. But yeah. Hey, thanks everybody for joining this morning, my first stream back. Like I said, I'm going to be doing it all this week. And I know the other days will be better with more news and all that. So, but appreciate you guys, everybody. And I'm going to hop off here. So have a good rest of your day. And if you're going to keep trading, as I always say, trade well, everybody. See y'all later.
Yeah.